All right, guys, we're live. We're live. Let me briefly drop the link.
GM, guys.
GM, everyone. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Welcome back from the weekend. Let me share this link briefly. Please feel free to share the link and drop your questions. Share the link, drop your questions, please. GM, everyone. I'm going to put my phone on silence. All right, so Spencer, what do you think about the market so far? We have finally touched 74,500. I think we kissed 74,500 this morning. What do you think? And we're beginning to see like a bounce.
Well, a bounce is something that we actually do need at this point, because if we don't get that bounce and we keep going lower, then we're in for a different kind of story entirely. So now, what I like to comment about is, most persons will be down in terms of alts, because we even saw Solana go below $100. And we've not seen that since, I think, 2024 or 2023. That's the last time we saw such prices.
I think we saw it last year. Solana went at 94. I think 94 or 92 last year. Around March, April. That March.
25? I don't think so.
Yeah. We did.
I don't think
that
so.
March, April.
So
the March, April.
I doubt it went below $100.
But yeah, I can hear you.
Just this. Yeah. So everything is down. I know most persons are down in terms of odds. It's normal when we just start to see this bounce. Let's say we start seeing 78, 79K towards 80K. People start getting excited, right? And then maybe start FOMOing back into alt and all that stuff. That will not be us being out of the red zone yet, because we'll always, the way this thing works is, if we, let's say, test the support or whatever, after some time we'll come back to test our support again. So we might get a situation where we'll get a bounce, and then we come back again to still test around the 70s region again. So after I've been saying, I'm still sitting on the sidelines basically. We need the pump, we need the continuous bounce from Bitcoin. But all in all, generally, I'm not expecting a bounce that will just pump the full market. Now Bitcoin has dumped to 70-something K. Now all skies are clear. We can now start pumping money. I don't really expect that. What I actually do expect is we would now start seeing, hopefully, because we're not the only players in this market, we will start seeing money flowing to both Bitcoin and both alts, because alts are in a very good price, right? That's what I'm expecting. But also, at the same time, for me, I'm still sitting on the sidelines for those mid-cap and low-cap coins, because I expect to see them around September prices before I am really fully convinced that this market is something that I should start taking seriously. Okay. Aside from that, it's just basically sit on the sidelines, watch the markets. If you see maybe an opportunity to swing, just quickly swing and get out. Aside from that, I'm not buying long-term at the moment, or even medium-term at the moment. Rather, it might be just short-term and just flip. Yeah, that's my current outlook for this market. Now, before I go, is Jupiter not doing their normal Jupiter Jupinary? Because I saw Jupiter pumped about 17% today. Are they not doing their normal? Because January is gone already. I didn't hear anything or see anything about it this year.
Well, I think they will, but I've not seen any news about it yet. But I feel they will. I feel they are going to.
Because the
Just
one
haven't
they
seen any news
shared,
about it.
the one they shared was for people that were staking Jupiter. I think they did that one, but I've not seen the normal one they do every January. Well, that's my market outlook basically. Let's see how the rest of the week progresses, and hopefully, now we are hoping that that February is the month, no longer January. So it's quite interesting, to be honest.
Basically, it's the first quarter of this year we're looking at. Whatever the market has to do or whatever the market needs to do, we're expecting that in the first quarter of this year. That's what we're actually expecting. But January is past. We're in February now. We'll look at the charts briefly and let's see what the chart is saying. But before then, let's look at crypto bubble. So we can see alts are down, 24 hours, alts are down. Every altcoin is down because of BTC squeezed down to 74K. For those that were here on Thursday, Friday, we said it's that as we are approaching the weekend, expect a dump, which we saw a dump on Friday, and we still stress the fact that BTC is going down to 74K. In fact, when BTC dumped, I think, to like 84K last week, that Thursday or Friday in our group, someone did ask where BTC is headed, what do we think? That he feels it's going down to 80K. And we made a post. We responded that BTC is going all the way down to 74K. Barely 3-4 days after, it's never up to 4 days, I think barely 3 days after or thereabout, we had 74K and we're about to see that bounce. So this is like the value of what we do here. So it just gets you like prepared. You have extra data to work with and to decide on what you want to do. Even the trades we were in, we stated it clearly that if BTC breaks below, I think then it was 6K or so. If it goes below that 86, 87 towards 80, those trades will be invalidated. And that did happen and it invalidated all of that. So it's very important to pay close attention to what we do here. Same thing too, we spoke about gold. Expect a dump, expect a dump. If the dump comes, it's going to be very, very brutal. Like we said, it's very, very brutal. Whatever pumps continuously, straight 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, expect a brutal dump. Irrespective of whatever caused the pump, expect a brutal dump. We saw that to happen with gold. Gold dumped from as high as 5,500 or thereabouts, dumped to 4,400. Insane dump to 4,400. You can imagine. So we'll look at those charts soon. Zooming out by a week, you can see clearly hype is the only coin that is holding on. Like it's holding very, very well. I don't know why, but hype has really, really, really been holding its value. Red was equally holding its value, but red gave into the dump. There's one other one. THE. D was also holding up, but D too gave up. But hype has been holding very, very strong, like really, really, really strong. Dashed dump aggressively to our interest level of around $41, $42, which is looking good to begin accumulating dash around that level, which I feel we should look at the chart soon. So, well, let's jump straight to this chart. So for the chart, we start with Solana. So if you notice this Solana chart, this is zooming out the weekly. Solana is at about $100. Last time we were there was April last year when we saw that, is it DeepSeek or so, that Chinese AI, when they released it around February, March, and the market dumped, stock market dumped, everything dumped, war threats and all of those things, global wars, economic wars between US, China, sanctions left, right, center. That was what happened March, April, May of last year, and that messed the market up in crazy ways. So that dragged prices of most coins to their very low. We saw Solana drop to like about 94, $95. Yet we saw all of that happen, and markets started recovering around May, June, July. That's when markets started recovering basically, and peaked around September. Whereas what we usually expect is a market to start peaking, to peak around November. So October was supposed to be green, October, November was supposed to be green, then December too, slightly green. But instead, we saw the opposite. And that really messed up a whole lot. Like, it's really, really messed up a whole lot. So if you want to begin accumulating Solana, it's at a good price to begin accumulating. It's at a very strong support. This is the strongest support we have. Okay, so it's still holding up that zone. If it breaks all of that and goes below $80, then that's going to be very, very brutal. I don't need to overstress that, but it'll be very, very brutal. Let's look at Dash. So you can see Dash after the amazing rally last few weeks, I think 2 weeks ago, to $96, facing this resistance. It has crashed back to almost where that rally started from, which is this zone, $41, $42. That's crashed back there. This is an entry that I'm looking at for Dash. I'm just waiting to see how BTC performs before I jump into the trade. I want to see confirmation from BTC that it's about to bounce properly before I jump in. Why? Is because if this zone fails to hold for Dash, then Dash will come all the way down to $21, $22, which that is a huge dump from here. That's as much as 50% crash from here. So if you put 1K, that 1K will drop to like $500. So those are like what I'm looking at while I'm still waiting for Dash. Let's look at BNB. BNB is actually holding up its value. After BNB, we also look at Ethereum, because I was looking at an Ethereum trade this morning. So for BNB, I feel I still want BNB to come down, if possible, like 600, this level. Still want BNB to come down. So that's about BNB. For Bitcoin, I wanted to take a long, but it didn't trigger. I was expecting BTC to come back to trigger, but it didn't. So that my long was not actually triggered. So here I took that long. There was a long trade that I was positioned for BTC. So if we look at the weekly chart, you can see BTC has dropped all the way to the 94,400, which is what we're expecting. Now it's now a question of, is there enough momentum there? Is there enough liquidity to bounce BTC, at least bounce it back to as high as say 85, 84, 85K? Is there enough buy volume to do that? If there's enough, we expect a bounce, but this is where we're expecting to get that bounce from. It's right here where we're at now. There's still a tendency that we might just sweep this low, maybe to as low as 73,500 or so, then before we reverse. That tendency is still there. But however, it's at this level we're expecting BTC to do its thing. If that doesn't happen, then it's fucked up. So this is a BTC long I was anticipating, but I was expecting it to just come back to this level, but it did not. That's moved to almost the full TP. So that's obviously a missed trade. So let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum is also a very important altcoin. Ethereum has really, really dropped. Let me pull up the charts. I was trying to search for it. And we're currently on a red trade. This red trade, basically. We're on this red trade. Yeah, so we're on this red trade. So let me check for searching for Ethereum. All right, so this is on Ethereum. So the Ethereum trade, I haven't taken it yet. I'm waiting to see BTC break out properly. I don't know if this is my network why it's lagging. Please, can you see my screen clearly? Can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, I can see your screen clearly.
Okay, I don't know why the Ethereum chat wasn't there. So this is an Ethereum trade I was looking at taking, but I've not taken this trade yet because I was actually waiting for BTC reaction, but the trade has triggered, but I had not taken it yet. I haven't set the parameters for the trade. Okay, so if we zoom out just to see the whole reason why this trade, you find that Ethereum is also at a similar place where BTC is at. Like Ethereum is also at that similar level. You can see it here. This is it. So last major low that Ethereum had last year around June, it was at this level. So Ethereum has also retraced all the way back to that level. So if at all we'll see an Ethereum bounce, if at all, it has to be at this level. If we don't, then we're still going all the way down to below $2,000. So, and if we recall, it was from this level that Ethereum started its bullish run last year that it did almost 100%. It's when it was able to pump from the 2K 100 zone, it ran all the way to almost 5K. It's got to 5K actually, doing over 100% run from this level. So we are now back to that level again. So it's now a question of can it hold or it can't, which is something that we would eventually find out. We'll definitely find out. Yeah, so Spencer, I don't know, what do you have to say so far so good about all of this? What do you have to say? After which we'll look at the gold chart briefly. What do you have to say
Well,
about this?
well, what we just have to do is just to see how this whole thing plays out, basically, right? For me, it's still the same thing. Sit on the sidelines, see how the market improves. For those who are trading features, if you're doing so, have your tight stop losses because at these prices, it's going to feel like after now everything will start pumping. So most people will just want to start FOMO longing into markets, right? Because by the time you see some tokens, let's say like Solana is still on the support, and then you check the risk to reward, it looks good, and then you're loading your 5x, 10x, 15 or 20x longs. You should just have tight stop losses. That we are seeing low prices doesn't mean we can't see lower prices. But for me, I'm just standing by and looking at the markets. If it's strong enough for me to start getting back into medium and long-term positions, fantastic. If not, I'll still wait it out. So that's just my view on it.
All right, I greatly agree. We need to see a bounce. We need to see like a clear bounce, very, very, very clear bounce before we can decide any other thing in this market. It's very, very necessary we see that. But yeah, so let's switch to looking at gold, what gold is actually showing us. So let me share this briefly. So if we look at gold, just to zoom out, if we zoom out on a weekly, you'll see how gold has been bullish. Like you can see clearly since 2024. Even before then, like it's just been all the way bullish, bullish, gets correction, and it keeps running. Now, if you look at this chart, you can see we drew this purple line sometime last week. I think that's when we drew this line. Last week, I guess, that's when we drew this purple line. Now, if you notice, you find out that where you have the most consolidation most recently is at this level. And you can see the dump that happened over the weekend from Thursday, I think from Thursday or from Friday for gold. You can see that. Now, if we switch to the daily, you can see it clearly where gold actually dumped to. And we have done this analysis last week where I stressed why it's very risky going long and why you should ensure to manage your trades by ensuring that once it starts moving towards a direction, you move your SL to break even and you gradually protect profits at different levels as it's going up. That's the smart and the wise thing to do because of the asset is already massively overbought and it can start dumping at any time. So for those persons that capitalized on that, kudos. For those that didn't, well, at least you've learned something. So now we're seeing a brief bounce on gold. We saw a brief bounce after this huge dump. Will this bounce be sustainable? Sincerely, if you ask me, I would say I don't think so. I feel what I expect, which I think I said that yesterday, was we might see a bounce back up followed by the dump to this level, but we didn't really get that good bounce. The dump just continued. So right now we can see like a relief bounce, then we can see like more dumps until we get to like a very, very good support levels where you have very, very good liquidity. Most likely that might be the November price level. Most likely that might be the November price level. It's not like this zone is not strong. This zone is very, very good, but that might be like the November price level. After which maybe we consolidate before we start going back up. So what you should be looking out for is that consolidation. Be on the lookout for consolidation. Once you get to that consolidation level, at least you know that you're halfway through the whole aggressive dump that is happening on gold right now. So I think that's looking at the gold price. Now, like I always said, I said it on Friday too, if you want to trade the volatility of gold, like you want to leverage on it because it's highly volatile, especially in market conditions like this. If you want to trade that active volatility, then you have to jump to the lower time frames. Basically, that is what you want to do. You want to jump to like lower time frames if you want to capitalize on it and trade it. You want to jump to lower time frames. And based on what we're seeing right now, you can see that it's been on a downtrend. It's just short all the way. So if you're looking to do that, then what you'll be looking for is to like take a trade around here because it's obviously facing like a support or a resistance rather. So you'll be looking at taking a trade. If you're trading this on a lower time frame, which is not what I'm doing right now, but if I were to trade this at a lower time frame, this is like the trade that I'll be looking at taking for gold, basically. There's a trade I'll be looking at taking for gold, and I'll be targeting it getting back to this level if I were looking at trading this on a lower time frame. So this is the trade idea I'm looking at to continue on the short. The only thing that might make this not play out is based on the liquidity that we just met at this purple line. That's the only thing, because you can see the huge rejection here. Okay, that's the only thing that might make that not play out. So you need to pay attention, and if you're taking that trade, you also need to pay attention to manage the trade so that once it starts going towards your direction, you move SL to break even. That's it. Just move the SL to break even. Afterwards, if it goes to full TP, fantastic. If it doesn't, you break even out of the trade. There would always be another opportunity in the market. All right, so let's look at Riva. Lastly, let's just look at Riva. I thought I added it here. Let's look at Riva. So Riva did well, at least for swings, for some scalping, basically. Riva did well, getting in at 17, exiting at around 20, getting it in at $12, exiting at around 17.5. Riva actually did well. So let me just open this. So yesterday I spoke about other lower prices where you can get Riva, where I was expecting it to get to. So I was able to scoop around $12 and exit around 17, just basically for scalping. Yeah, so when it got to this level, which is 12, around $12, when it got to this level, you can see it here, this level, I was able to scoop, which is like around $12. And once it did that brief retracement all the way up, brief minor bounce, I sold off around 17. Yes, it went still higher to like 20 something, but I wasn't concerned about that because that's just for scalping until it gives us like a clear direction on where it wants to go. So right now, River is also sitting on a very, very good support level, which is around that $10 level. It's at a very good support level, but it hasn't given us a clear direction that it's going to go towards the upside yet, and that's because of BTC hasn't done the same. So most times, most of these odds, it's what BTC does that will decide their outcome. Some might respond faster and pump faster, while some others might be like the least to respond, or the last rather to respond, which is why I say whatever you're doing, pay very close attention to what BTC is doing. I can say it clearly. Pay very close attention to what BTC is doing. Once BTC shows us that clear breakout, once it shows us that very, very clear breakout, this missed entry, it's almost at 40p. Once it shows us that very, very clear and clean breakout, then we're good. In as much as, yes, we're anticipating and we're expecting the bounce to happen from this level. But once it's certain from BTC, you can now start attacking altcoins. There are lots of altcoins that are down. AVAX is very down. SUI is very down. AR is very down. But I don't encourage you to jump in on any of them just yet until BTC has given us that clear direction. For now, the only one that I know I'm in is red. Just in case you're interested in it, that's the only one that we're in that was posted. All right, so let's take questions. Let's take questions before we call it a day. Yeah, so Kennedy says, I understand River is a stable coin across various chains. What is River main utility driving it? Well, River is just like providing deep liquidity to multiple blockchains. That's what they are doing. I think they have incorporated with SUI too. They're doing the same thing with different chains. Just trying to create one huge, should I call it village or market, where each chain is interconnected and liquidity can easily flow from one chain to another. And we know deep liquidity is at the heart of everything in the crypto space. It's just similar to like security in a way. There's deep liquidity, investors will be interested, it will be easier to build every and anything, trading, all of those stuff is all liquidity tied. So that's what River is basically doing, like connecting multiple chains together and giving them access to deep liquidity. Exclude effects changes. Okay. On-chain activities like BSC. I'm a bit confused. Maybe you're asking if River is like a chain you can build on. I haven't looked that up. I haven't checked. If River is like the likes of SUI and other blockchains. I've not checked that you can build on it. I haven't checked that if it's an L1. I actually haven't checked that, or L2. I haven't, so I can't be able to tell. Yeah, we've done River review of the charts. Please, if you have other questions, you can drop it. For red, this is red entry. But for me, for the red, I did them this year because I got in again, added more at this level. So my overall entry is down here. So, but red is slightly below the initial entry, and the SL is 0.198. That's the SL. All right, guys. So I think that's all we'll be doing for today. Pay attention to what's happening in the market. It's better you long now and catch an SL if you want to long, rather than trying to FUMO. I'm looking at BTC briefly, just to go to a lower time frame. Note, BTC hasn't given any clear direction, please. Note, it hasn't. Even at this price, it hasn't. for us to see a clear direction from here, BTC can still dump all the way. For us to see a clear direction from BTC, it has to clear this level. Like it has to go above 78K, 78, 79. It has to. And the best we would want to see is if it goes above 79K, which is the price we saw yesterday. If it goes above 79K, then that will be really, really cool. At least then we can be almost certain that it's going to come all the way up to the 80s and most likely the 90s and all of that. Yeah, so I think that handles most of the questions that a few persons have been thinking of asking. All right, guys. So, especially, I don't know if you have any other stuff that you want to say. Is there any other thing from your end? I don't know if he's there. Are you there, please? Any other thing from your end before we wrap it up? Okay, I think he's having network issues because I can't hear him, and I don't know if he can hear us. But let me just share another trade idea that I'm looking at taking. Basically, let me just share it. Can I stop sharing my screen? Okay, let me just share a trade idea. This is the last trade, and after which we're calling it a day. Yeah. So for Dash, it stops. So for Dash, I'm actually looking at this. For Dash, this will play out very well if BTC actually breaks out as we are anticipating. So it's very close to the entry. The entry is around 42.8 or thereabout. Very, very close to the entry. The SL is at 34 points, while the full TP is at 65. Yes, yeah. So this for that is actually a long-term trade, by the way. It's a long-term trade. So it's largely dependent on BTC breakout. Very, very dependent on BTC breakout. Maybe later might check for some opportunity on AVAX. Should AVAX give us an actual breakout? So should check for that. All right, guys. So that's all we're taking for today. And I've answered the question for the price for red. I've answered that. So that's all we're taking for today. And see you guys same time tomorrow. Bye, guys.